Hello, CoachCrate family. Welcome to your boundary month. Today we are talking about how to tell when you need to set a boundary or when it would be good for you to set a boundary. We talk about this a lot throughout the book, in the book guide, looking at your emotions and seeing how they're interacting with the boundaries that you have or the lack of boundaries that you have. So as you're working through that section, really keep in mind also, when are the times that you quietly suffer? When do you feel like you are suffering silently? That can be a good indicator that something is funky. And as we've talked about before a lot in CoachCrate, sometimes we choose that and that decision actually gives us benefit, right? It allows us to stay stuck. It allows us to avoid conflict or discomfort. It allows us to keep unhealthy patterns because we are the martyr or whatever it might mean. And sometimes it's just because we aren't fully aware of how crappy it is. So take a little inventory. What areas do you feel like you are being used? You're suffering silently. Maybe it's not so silent. You feel like things are unfair. Write that down and write down any boundaries that could come from that spot or from that situation. And of course, the other area is anger and resentment. If you are feeling angry, if you're feeling resentment or triggered by something, it usually means a little bit of a boundary could be in place. And this is when I want to add a little bit of love and comfort and support and say, if it's something that doesn't seem like it's able to change, first of all, I want you to challenge that thought. I want you to challenge the reality of that because change can happen. It just might come at a big expense. So let's be realistic about it. And that's okay. As we talk about in the book, if you want to choose something that goes against that boundary or that decision, but it's an active choice, it's very, very different than either not being aware or not choosing. Because, right, when we don't choose, we actually are making a choice, as my friends Rush say. So look into that emotion, look into that anger and say, what am I needing that I'm not getting in this situation? Sometimes it might just be a little bit of recognition or appreciation. Sometimes you might need to change the energy or the expectation that you have for the other person. That's fine too. But the biggest recommendation is to use your emotions as an indicator. Use them as a guide so that once you have those emotions, you can check in with them and say, why did that come up? What's really going on here? Which leads us to a really important part that sometimes we have the urge to set these really intense, crazy strong boundaries, and that's great, but there's also other underlying work that needs to go on for us. So for example, if you can't see a certain family member at gatherings because they trigger you and they bring up really negative things into your life, perfect, set that boundary. Also, start to do work into understanding why they trigger you, what that comes from, if there are any ways that you can grow personally, and the ways that we just accept our differences and keep boundaries the way we need to keep them in order for us to be healthy. Your boundaries are going to be continuing to change and flow and flux with you as you are growing and expanding, and that's perfectly okay. We want to make sure that you are not changing them because you are intimidated by holding them. That's the big difference. So, of course, we will talk about this throughout the month, but your quick, sweet little welcome video to say, follow your emotions, pay attention, use them as guides so that you can create a life that really is aligned with what you want, the person that you want to be, the energy that you want to bring into the world, and then your boundaries can follow along with that. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you soon in another video.